Gallifrey 407 here. Welcome to a very special review today. I'm bringing you my first ever Big Finish review on this channel, hopefully to do sort of many more. So today's story I'm reviewing is the 201st Big Finish story in the main range of Doctor Who, and that is We Are the Daleks, which is written by Jonathan Morris and stars Sylvester McCoy as the 7th Doctor and the return of Mel, played by Bonnie Langford.
Allow me to introduce the Daleks.
They're called Daleks? Oh, how sweet.
Would you like some bonbons?
You're not the only one who wants to know what's going on in there.
Who are you?
Me? Oh, call me the Doctor.
It's no good! They've spotted us!
They must be exterminated!
Come on, you know the game's up! Exterminate!
I want to meet this emperor of yours.
What?
I haven't come all this way to speak with a monkey when I could be talking to the organ grinder.
Let me go, and I will let you live.
We have the power of life and death over you! Very well. Don't say I didn't warn you.
Before I get into the story, I'm just going to show you the sort of CD cover. As you see, some great graphics on it. I love the artwork. Obviously it says We're the Daleks with Sylvester McCoy and Bonnie Langford, written by Jonathan Morris. Also says it's starring Nicholas Briggs as the sort of pivotal role of the Daleks in this story. As you couldn't tell, the Daleks are in it by the title. And obviously we've got some great graphics, which obviously listening to the story now, I think they really relate to this cover very well. When you open up the CD case, there's also a changeable cover which sort of fits into the 80s style sort of promotion of the story. This is a 2-disc set, there's one disc here and one behind that. On the back it's got a synopsis of the story and a list of the full cast. So yeah, no, it's a really nice presented little CD. I was sort of explaining this hypnosis, but I think the CD does it really well. The hypnosis reads on the back, the year is 1987 and Britain is divided. In Bradford, strikes are picketing and clashing with the police. In the city of London, stockbrokers are drinking champagne, politicians, and courting the super rich. The mysterious media mogul, Alek Zenos, head of the Zenos Corporation, he's offering Britain an economic miracle. His partners wish to invest, and their terms are too good to refuse. While the Doctor investigates Warfleet, a new computer game craze that is sweeping the nation, Mel goes undercover to find out the truth about the Zenos partners. We're the Daleks. It's a good story because obviously I think it introduced you well to sort of obviously 7th Doctor and Mel. I think before this there was this sort of massive story arc going on with the Big Finish range, obviously leading up to the 200th release. So this one is sort of quite a nice story. People trying to get into Big Finish like myself obviously don't know majorly stuff about the sort of Big Finish range. So it's quite a nice little standalone story, and this is part one of a sort of trilogy with the 7th Doctor and Mel. So obviously the first one, We're the Daleks. The second one is Warehouse. And then the third one is Terror of the Sontarans, as no going to say Zygons then. As you heard by a synopsis of the story, there's this sort of craze of this sort of fleeting nation, which is sort of this new game. And it's really cool because obviously this is sort of set in the 80s, and obviously at the time there was a massive sort of boom of the sort of like Nintendo 64. I have no idea what the other ones are called, but yeah, there's a massive boom with all these games, and it's really well established in the story, and it's really intriguing. Like, I was sort of like, yeah, the concept does sound really good, but I didn't think it'd be as gripping as it was. But obviously there's a lot of political elements in this story. We do see sort of both sides of the spectrum, sort of the poor people and the sort of rich people living higher class lives. It's interesting how it sort of delves into that. Obviously Mel sort of goes and investigates rich area, and the Doctor, as you do, sort of goes down and gets onto the level of the sort of poor people, which is interesting for the Doctor. I feel there's a lot of parallels to Remembrance. It's quite funny because obviously with Remembrance, that was sort of a setting that was made in the 80s, and that was sort of looking on a retrospective of the 60s. And it's quite funny now because obviously this is sort of quite a few years later, and now it's sort of looking back at the 80s, so it's quite ironic really. I was quite surprised how humorous this was. The first part especially, obviously after that, a lot of stuff does go down, it gets quite serious then, but there are a lot of comedic elements, and obviously the opening is quite like a oh my god, sort of like the stereotypical sort of thing you see in Doctor Who, which is sort of like trying to do the sort of shock factor thing. But I say the 7th Doctor and Mel were absolutely brilliant. I've seen all the Doctor and Mel sort of stories on TV, and I have listened to Fires of Vulcan, but I do know this is Bonnie Langford's sort of long-awaited appearance, or reappearance into Big Finish, because I think the last one she did was called Red. When I listened to Fires of Vulcan, they had a really good dynamic in that, and in the TV show they do, but I say with this story it allows them to sort of fully play with all the action abilities and obviously push the characters in the best possible situations, which leads to some very good dialogue and some very sort of good character interaction with the two and others in the story. I like how in the beginning of the story the Doctor and Mel sort of do this thing, they're sort of like, right, you go in that direction, I go in that direction, we sort of find different stuff. I felt like Mel was really good with sort of tech, which I don't think was really fully exploited in the sort of Doctor Who TV series anyway. But it was nice to sort of see her do something different rather than just sort of screaming, which would be very good on audio as well. I think overall as a whole the story has some great moral messages and a sort of great view on our sort of humanity as a sort of human race, and it's good because obviously the Daleks obviously sort of know us as Daleks. They sort of get a grip of like what humanity's like, and obviously they know what sort of emotions will trigger sort of certain things. There's a quite strong parallels between sort of the Daleks and humanity, and it's really nice to sort of see a breakdown of what makes a Dalek, and obviously, and then you sort of think, wow, let's say the human race as a whole seems quite too similar to the Dalek race, which is quite scary, but it's very impactful in the story. There's some great supporting characters in the story. A couple of highlights, got Celia Dunthorpe, who's quite comedic. Like she plays it quite well, because obviously the sort of the dialogue she's giving could come across as quite campy, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I found amusing, but also a threat at the same time. It's good also because obviously she starts out sort of like you're unsure of her, and obviously then she sort of has to flip throughout the story. So that was interesting. That was very well played out. We also have Alek Zenos. Again, likes the sort of Claire Dunford character. He sort of does the opposite, where he sort of splits from bad to good. His role reminded me, I think it was sort of inspired by the character in Day of the Daleks, who's sort of like this human ambassador sort of linking the Daleks. So that's what I saw the sort of inspiration from that was from. But no, he does a great job. When he sees what the Daleks are up to, it's good because obviously we sort of get the same reaction as well, so it's nice to relate to. So the Daleks are absolutely great in this story. They start out when the sort of scene they're introduced, that is quite comedic, but after that they are quite like, oh whoa, okay. As played by Nicholas Briggs, who does an absolutely brilliant job of bringing the Dalek characters to life. I like the scenes with the 7th Doctor and the sort of high count of the Daleks. That was quite nice, how it was sort of like, obviously because they have the sort of high counts of Daleks with sort of the Supreme Dalek, and the Doctor's just sort of like okay, final there. I was really my comedic self, but no, I say there's a quite nice balance between them. Sort of Sylvester McCoy, he has a really cool outfit. I don't know if you'll see on the cover, but he does have sort of really stylish new jacket, and obviously that sort of fits into the story. So it's sort of cool to picture that. But the 7th Doctor character, I say with the TV series, he is sort of split. Like he obviously is quite his comedic sort of small man, and then he can sort of go into sort of quite dark places. I don't think the story does go into dark places, but not necessarily for the Doctor. So it is nice to sort of have a fun Sylvester McCoy sort of story, and obviously Mel, I think, is taken more seriously, which is justified in the story. So yeah, I think the nice balance obviously between the sort of the main characters of 7th Doctor and Mel, the sort of strengths of them are played out really nicely. So without spoiling it, there is sort of a cliffhanger type thing with one of the characters in the story, and I wonder if they do continue this in the sort of next 2 stories in this kind of trilogy thing. But no, that was quite intriguing, and hopefully they will continue that. My own real complaint really is that sort of part 4 does the sort of resolution of it does drag out quite a bit. I say maybe they could have condensed it to sort of 3 parts. That may would have been a bit rushed, but I say it's fine. But if I had to sort of pick one thing to sort of have a minor complaint about, is that I say the resolution itself Sort of like, okay, we're getting there, come on, do you know what I mean? But yeah, if I rate this story out of 10, I'll probably give it a 7 out of 10. It's a nice little story, a nice introduction story to sort of Big Finish, new people coming into Big Finish. The political elements are really nicely balanced with the sort of sci-fi elements. The concept of the gaming stuff sort of established in the story is absolutely genius. It's really intriguing. All the cast are absolutely amazing performances. Seventh Doctor Mel and obviously Nicholas Briggs as the Daleks, which he can never go wrong really. And there's some nice little subplots going on in the story as well, and some really good twists, which I won't explore here. But no, I highly recommend it. It's a really fun little story, and as I say, for me, I've listened to Big Finish a bit of it, but obviously not loads. But for me, it was a really nice little standalone story, and it also does Mel's character justice as well. So yeah, for a story out of 10, I give it 7 out of 10. So I did actually get on Twitter, I did ask for people's opinions. I did get 2 responses. The first one is from X-Class Gaming, and he says it was quite an interesting one, and I really enjoyed it. I must listen to it again. 7 out of 10. So yeah, I'll say thank you for your sort of comment on the story. Yeah, no, it is a really intriguing story. I say he gave it 7 out of 10, which I think is sort of the average rating. I say because the concept that's absolutely amazing. I think parts 1 and 2 especially, they really go into some really dark places, and then sort of part 3 and 4 sort of maybe comes down a bit. So it's not really that consistent, I don't think, but it starts out really well, and I love the idea of it, and it is well executed for the first few parts anyway. And finally, Skyrim Productions, aka Matthew, wrote me a really long sort of paragraph of his thoughts on the story without giving any spoilers away, which is absolutely brilliant. So this is what Matthew says. We Are the Daleks is a very enjoyable story by Jonathan Morris. It's always great having McCoy face the Daleks. Yeah, that's agreed. It's a very different take on the Dalek story, but it doesn't fail. I do love the setting of the 80s, which works very well with the whole gaming theme. Yeah, I'll say that's what sells. Sort of like the game aspect in the 80s was sort of booming. This nice sort of story fits in really well. It's pretty much season 24 done right. Yes. Mel is a lot better in Big Finish than she was in the television series. Judging by past experiences I've had with her on audio, which is Red, which was her sort of last appearance before this, which was a number of years ago, and this story, which isn't much, but it's enough to back that up. This is actually a very strong story for Mel. She's given some great character moments. Yeah, so some great character moments for Mel. Obviously she goes and investigates, and there's a sort of bit where she has to sort of take the lead, and there isn't the Doctor there. I like to see how she gets along on her own as a sort of standalone character without the Doctor being her age. The Daleks are brilliant in this story, and how they should be so. Well done job from Morris for capturing them well. Yeah, I say the Daleks are sort of, there are a few comedic elements in there, but that's been at the beginning, but I say once the tone is set, they are a force being menaced with, that's what the Daleks really should be portrayed as. I'm a big fan of the 7th Doctor. He's my 5th favourite Doctor, and I was not as disappointed with him whatsoever in this story. No, I say does a great performance, and the character is really nicely presented well. It showcases his character pretty well with the great humour and also his seriousness. There we go. I wouldn't say we see his darker side to his character, but he's not clownish, that's for sure. Yeah, it's quite weird, because when he is sort of talking to the Daleks, sort of taking the mick out of them, there is quite a sort of darkest edge to it. Like, it mixes quite well, but I know what it means. It's not too darkish, and it's not too sort of clownish, so it's sort of a thing that meets in the middle. So yeah, I agree with you, Matthew. Supporting characters are mostly good. Yeah, I say I did enjoy the sort of subplots and the little characters in the story. On the whole, We Are the Daleks is an audio I would recommend. It may seem to have an obscure premise if you haven't listened to this story, but it's definitely worth checking out. Yeah, I don't know. Thank you, Matthew. I say with the sort of concept of the story and the obscure premise, I found that quite intriguing. So I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. Say if you haven't listened to it, are you sort of put off by the premise of the sort of the gaming aspect and all the political elements, because they push that quite a lot in the promotional material of this story. So let me know how, if you haven't listened to it, let me know why. Would you, is a story you would recommend? If you have listened to it, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. I say I've recently set up a Facebook page for the Gallifrey Forever 97 channel, link in the description below. You can like that, and when I do future reviews, I'll be sort of saying, give me your opinions, and I can feature them in this video if you say on that. I've also got Twitter, which you guys say I'll be sort of posting stuff on that. So if you want your sort of opinions on sort of future stories heard, I will put them in the video. With the Facebook and Twitter page, I do sort of post sort of developments on sort of different projects, and also sort of create polls as well. So say it's sort of like interacting with you guys more. So yeah, if you haven't liked the Facebook page, please go to the link in the description and like that Facebook page. Thank you very much. Hopefully by the time this video is up, I recently did a collaboration with Epic Who, aka Tom Dix, on his Battles in Time series, where Gets You, she was on, and they sort of debate different stuff. I talked about the War Doctor, and we sort of talked that out. And obviously a lot of people, I think a majority of people do like that character, and we sort of get our opinions about it. It went so well, so hopefully that's out. So I'll put a link in the description for that, so you can check that out, sort of my appearance on his channel, so go subscribe to him as well. So I hope you've enjoyed my review of We Are the Daleks. I say, as I'm sort of getting into Big Finish now with the sort of massive gap of Doctor Who, as we're not going to be getting that any new stuff until Christmas. Is there any sort of Big Finish stories you recommend me to sort of buy and listen to and review? I have sort of the torture stories, also like at the end, sort of stuff like that. So if there's any stories you want me to review, please put in the comment section below, and also stories you recommend me to listen to if you're sort of into Big Finish. Please comment down in the comment section below those opinions, and I'd love to sort of hear them. Hopefully one day you might see a review of the story you've recommended on this channel. So yeah, so thank you very much for watching, guys. Please comment, like, and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and Facebook, like the Facebook page, down in the description below. And yeah, so I say thank you very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.